Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mains Mentorship Program 2025. Today we'll discuss the GS3 topic, Indian economy. So I hope everyone has brought pen and paper. So we'll make it a more interactive session. So I'll be asking a few questions and you try to generate more dimensions and try to write them in the paper, and anything important if I say, you can just note down and later you can update in the slides. Okay. So I'll start with the Indian economy. The first class will have the syllabus will be this for the first class, like Indian economy, related issues, planning and mobilization of resources. See, I would first I will try to explain the syllabus a bit because this understanding is required for the exam. Only then you will be able to guess the questions and you will be able to properly revise the content. So what is the understanding of the syllabus is basically first Indian economy. So definitely they'll ask you one question based on Indian economy, and we'll try to guess what question will come this year from Indian economy based on PYQs. Mostly it will be based on PYQs only, nothing new they'll ask you. They'll ask PYQ based terms. The terms will be PYQ based itself, but yeah, related to current affairs. So Indian economy is there. Then there is growth, development and employment. So employment topic also has been focused a lot of times. Okay. So Indian economy related, overall economy related question is there. One question they ask generally on employment or unemployment. And then there is a question on budgeting. Either they are asking on budget directly or they'll ask you on gender budgeting. Okay, so these are some questions. Last year, I think they asked you public expenditure in social services. So already budget question is asked last year. Okay, this year, especially gender budgeting for Vikshit Bharat. Okay, so these type of current affairs is already there. So maybe this year they may ask you gender budgeting, because in 2016 they asked, and after that they did not ask. And recently there are 3-4 articles talking about gender budgeting. Okay, so gender budgeting is important. Apart from that, budget is also important because this time especially the focus is on four people. Who are those four people? We have read in prelims as well. Budget 2025 focuses on four people, and that can be asked in the coming exam. One is farmers, yes. Youth, yes. Women. What is the fourth? And poor, yes. Very good. So these are the four people out there. Like in the budget, it is called as four castes. So in this way, they may ask a question, and that also we will see. And today, especially, we'll focus more on gender budgeting. Tomorrow, Bright Sir will be focusing on those four parameters. Okay. Next, effects of liberalization. Again, this year we are expecting one question to be asked from this liberalization topic. Every year, more or less, they try to ask liberalization and industrial growth. What question will come this year? We will focus on that. I'll discuss in the coming slides. Okay, what question will come from, especially in this, based on like what is the current affairs and what is happening in the economic survey. More or less, we can try to guess the question from these topics. Okay. So moving, how we can guess? Simply what you have to do is, first of all, you have to write the main topic, Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization of resources. Again, note down all the questions which are asked from the topic. All the questions asked from the topic. For example, if you see food inflation, they asked. Is inflation already asked in PYQs? Is inflation already asked in PYQs? Definitely, yes. You can see here already 2019, there is a question on steady growth, GDP growth and low inflation. So inflation keyword is already there. And if you open economic survey of 2024, if you open economic survey of 2024, in third chapter, what is exactly given? Any idea, anyone? In third chapter, I think third or fourth chapter, they have given clearly inflation. The topic in the 24 economic survey was inflation. Again, this year also, economic survey topics will be very important. Based on economic survey topics only, they are going to mostly ask the question in the exam. So in that way, we'll try to guess what question will come this year as well. So similarly, Indian economy questions, these questions are the status of digitization, potential GDP or study GDP growth. Even can I say that care economy question, do you remember? Asked in 2023, care economy. Was it in economic survey? It was clearly mentioned in the economic survey. So basically, remember, your questions basically come from economic survey, but it has to match the words of the PYQ. So FDI is there. Again, FDI is also mentioned in the economic survey. And this time, can we expect this question again? World trade affect macroeconomic stability in India, and why? Can anyone tell me why this question will come in 2024? Sorry, 2025. Very good. Tariff war, or what did the economic survey calls it with a different name. It is called global trade fragmentation. Okay, so GTF, global trade fragmentation. So exactly question will be in this way. Global trade fragmentation, what is the effect on macroeconomic stability in India? This question mostly has to come this year in the exam in Indian economy. Based on PYQs also, you can see already is asked, and even now there is global trade fragmentation going on. So definitely a question on this global trade fragmentation and impact on economic stability of India can be asked in 2025. So we are expecting these questions, and we'll be discussing based on the entire class will be based on this. And even government budgeting also already we discussed like what they have asked in the previous very basic question, like what is the difference between capital budget and revenue budget. I think these questions you should be able to handle. Okay. So basics, you know already what is capital budget and revenue budget, and accordingly you can handle. But here you can see one of the intended objectives of union budget: transform, energize, and clean India. So similar question can they ask on those intended four objectives this time? Poor, women, youth, and what is the fourth one? Farmers. Okay, definitely they may ask. Next, women empowerment in India, gender budget. So we are expecting this year, because this Vikshit Bharat and all are there, gender budgeting and Vikshit Bharat, and recently there are a lot of articles on gender budgeting and all. So we will look into it. So question may come this year on that. Okay. Next, liberalization. Again, liberalization, mostly they asked last year, yes, current affairs was there. Even this labor codes was there in economic survey also. Last year, clearly in economic survey, there was labor codes. So this year also we'll focus more on the economic survey topics, and we can guess the question coming in 2025. Now, account for failure of manufacturing sector. So they are focusing more on the manufacturing sector here, and industrial growth lagging behind. So what we are expecting this year based on all these questions is, there is one keyword in the economic survey also, which is called deregulation. Deregulation. So can I say deregulation comes under this topic? Effects of liberalization, economic industrial policy, deregulation. So in the context of recent economic instability and all macroeconomic instability, the economic survey says that we need to focus on deregulation. Now, it's a very broad topic also, deregulation. So definitely they may ask you like what is the status of deregulation in India and what can be done. So most expected question from this liberalization and economy industrial policy will be deregulation. Most expected question from budget will be those two questions. Okay. The women and the four priority areas, and most expected from Indian economy will be the question macroeconomic stability. Okay. And that global transformation. Now coming to unemployment, again, we are expecting that this year, especially considering this questions on demographic dividend, considering unemployment rate and all, a broader question on impact of AI on labor market. Okay, impact of AI on labor market, and this especially topic also has been discussed in the survey properly. So you can expect a question on this as well in unemployment. Okay, so what will happen to the employment scenario in India? So such type of question can be asked in the exam. So now can we say more or less the syllabus aspect have we analyzed? So this is very important for every student. By seeing the syllabus, you cannot just go on reading each and everything with respect to syllabus. You need to confine yourself, especially based on the PYQs. Okay. So what are all PYQs have been given? If you cover those topics also, that's more than enough for the exam, because mostly they will repeat those same topics in the exam. So based on that, let us start our discussion. So first we'll start with global trade fragmentation, impact on macroeconomic stability of Indian economy. So again, we are following, I think everyone attended the demo class, right? So in the demo class, I showed Vinay's copy. Everyone has idea, right? Okay, you will not attend the demo class. Okay, 1 second. Okay, let me discuss first, then I'll show the copy again. So let me discuss first. So how to write already we discussed in the demo class. Yes, maybe some students do not attend the demo class, but okay, fine. Again, I'll discuss how to write the answers after explanation of this question. Okay, after explanation of this question. So first thing is global trade fragmentation. Based on what I showed you in the copy of how to write an introduction. So generally what we have decided, how many words we need to write an introduction? 15 words. Yes, 15 words is what I discussed. So 15, yeah, not more than 20 words. 15 words is more than enough. So when they ask you global trade fragmentation, so can we just mention that there is a trade protectionism going on, like US has initially announced high tariffs on more than 60 countries. This one line can we write? Okay, global trade fragmentation. Or we can also say like countries like US and China, okay, they are reciprocal high tariffs they are being imposing. Okay, or you can also say US has imposed tariffs on India as well. Like for example, US-India trade war, US imposing 25%, 25% on imports of steel and aluminum. Okay. So these type of direct current affairs related 1 or 2 lines you can definitely write in the exam. This will be not more than 10 words or 15 words also. This is more than enough. Don't extend your introduction. Just write 10 or 15 words. That's more than enough. Okay. So usually you can mention, right? So recently US has imposed tariffs and all, or you can also mention Indian example. Okay. So introduction wise, mostly we'll cover current affairs related. So after introduction, definitely draw a diagram, mostly because this question may come mostly in 15 markers. So what is this trade protectionism or what is this global trade fragmentation? So just if they're asking global trade fragmentation, here you can write global trade fragmentation. If they're asking protectionism, write protectionism here. So what are different type of trade protectionism we are seeing in recent years? It is not just about tariff measures. Okay, remember, you have to broaden your answer. Because in the survey also, it is not just talking about the tariff measures or non-tariff measures. It is also talking about the embargoes, like any restrictions on different countries. It is also talking about local content requirements, and it is also talking about carbon border tax. So recently, tell me which, yes, CBAM. CBAM is imposed by which group? European Union, very good, European Union. So this diagram has to come in the exam if this global trade fragmentation question is asked. So as I told you, like we are following the presentation, simple presentation, which I showed you in the demo class. So it will start with a 15-word introduction, simply draw a diagram showing trade fragmentation and different aspects. Many are just writing only tariffs and non-tariffs, but also show carbon border tax, also show local content requirements. Anything else can you add to this trade protectionism? Any other dimension of trade protectionism? Deforestation, yes, it comes under. Okay, one aspect like climate and environment aspects, one aspect. Like even deforestation also comes under EU deforestation regulation. Anything else apart from environment, local content requirements, non-tariff measures, tariffs, anything else in trade protectionism? Are there any words called friend shoring? We discussed in the prelims classes, friend shoring. Do you remember? Yes, quotas also can be written. Very good. Import quotas. Import quotas. Yes, import quotas also you can mention, no issues. And anti-dumping duties also can be mentioned. So anyways, they come under non-tariff measures and all, import quotas and these things. Fine. Can we mention friend shoring? Friend shoring. What is friend shoring? Can anyone tell me? Trade only between friends. Very good. Trade mostly between friends. Okay. Even if I say FDI investments in neighboring countries or FDI investments in friendly countries, does it come under trade protectionism? FDI investments in friendly countries rather than in other countries, they are just investing only in the friendly countries. So that also comes under friend shoring. So something else. So this also can come under trade protectionism. So this diagram has to come in the exam. Now coming to macroeconomic variables, obviously because of this trade protectionism, lot of impact will be there on macroeconomic variables. Now I haven't given variables here. So now I want you to give me just the variables. The impact we will discuss later. Just give me some, let us say 10 variables from your side on which there will be impact because of global trade fragmentation. Okay, first very important point is exports. Very good. Okay, fine. Exports will be impacted. GDP will be impacted. Very good. Inflation, it will cause inflation. Very good. Current account deficit. Okay. Employment, very good. Overall employment will be impacted. Investments will be impacted. Very good. Investments. Forex reserves or exchange rate. Okay. Here only you can write inflation, exchange rate and all. Technology. Okay. Technology sharing. Very good. Technology also is a very important point. Or you can say R&D will be impacted or innovation will be impacted. Debt to GDP. Okay. We can say overall public debt. Okay. Some impact maybe on public debt as well because overall exports will reduce, GDP current account deficit impact is there. So maybe public debt also will be impacted. Okay. Anything else? Exports, GDP, inflation, employment, investments, technology, public debt. Any other macroeconomic variable? Private sector, is it a macroeconomic variable? Private sector. Definitely it is. Okay. So private sector overall, what is the involvement of private sector? What happens to private sector also? You can mention. Okay. No issue. Anything else? Investments from other, they come under investments only. Like investments within investments, we can also write FDIs. Okay. FDIs and all you can write in within investments. Any other one variable? Overall trade also you can write. Okay. Political, okay. One point last year also I asked you to write is environment. I told you environment is a macro variable. Yes, climate is also a macro variable. So something related to climate point also has to be brought. Like for example, we have just now saw carbon tax. Okay, so mitigation and adaptation also can be very difficult if there is this trade, this global trade protectionism measures. Okay. Yes, consumption expenditure also very good. Very good. Consumption expenditure. This is a very important point because overall it is going to impact the consumption expenditure or consumption demand. If consumption demand is impacted, what will happen to the economy? If consumption expenditure or consumption demand is reduced, what will happen to the economy? Slow down. Yes, the economy will slow down. Very good. Consumption expenditure also is one of the points. So basically, see, this question is very easy. You don't have to like by heart much also. You just have to remember, yes, what you have to write in introduction and this, what are different types of protectionisms. And just remember this macroeconomic variables. Easily you can write 10 points. And to defend the points, I'll give you clear this statistics and all to defend your points. So don't worry about that. But most important part of this question is writing this 10 points. Okay, employment, all these things. So defend with statistics, small statistics only you write. Already you have seen how Vinay has written. Okay, they do not extend the point at all. They just write the point simple and just write example and some statistics they write. Okay, one line. Okay, so for example, let us say if GDP is there. So overall, can I say GDP will reduce a bit, some 0.5% or 0.1, like 0.6% or something in point wise, can we say? So just you have to remember that decrease in the GDP statistics. That's it. That anyways, I'll give you in the next slide. So decrease in the statistics. Now tell me what will happen to service sector. Sectors is also, see, again, one very important variable you missed is sectors. Sectors is a very important variable. So different sectors impact will be there, like industry, agriculture and service sector. What will be the impact on service sector because of this global fragmentation, trade fragmentation? Or this protectionist measures? Export, yes, service exports will be impacted. Trade protection measures such as even this visas and all, they also come under protectionist measures, and definitely they are going to impact employment in the services as well. So in that way, you can definitely mention what impact could be on services or industry. Employment, already you have given. Economy, digital economy also impacts exports, investments, inflation, public debt, environment, tax, and corporate. I'm just giving you some macroeconomic variables. So actual answer, if you want to write to defend your points, simple, just mention the point and just write statistics here. And also do not elaborate the institutions in the exam, not required. Okay. So some students are elaborating and all, and yes, there are some suggestions saying that you cannot write short forms and all, especially for institutions. Again, remember, we have checked the copies of toppers and all. Mostly they do not elaborate any institution. They just write short forms of the institutions. Remember that. Okay. So do not elaborate anything. If IMF is there, right IMF, UNACTAD is there, just write UNACTAD. Okay. Even any report or institution which even examiner may not know also, you just write short form, not required. They will not go and check it is not that important also. Like what is the abbreviation of that particular institution? Not at all important. Okay. So UNACTAD anticipates a slowdown of let us say 6.9 to 6.5%. So GDP slowdown could be there in India. And sectors like global recession can impact service sector, especially in India. So you can just write example, impact on service sector. Employment, you can say stricter rules like H1B and all will impact Indian professionals. Simple, very simple points. Okay. Then manufacturing, you can just say that like global value chains will be impacted, especially import costs will increase. Example, you can say EV sector, China's dominance. Okay. Can I say 80% of the solar industry is dominated by China? In manufacturing, 80% of the solar manufacturing, be it that silicon or be it the wafers, okay, it is dominated by China, remember. So simple statistics, you can remember 80% of the solar manufacturing is dominated by China. Then definitely this type of trade protectionism measures will impact some of the sectors, especially global value chains disruption. And sometimes this protectionist measures also will result in monopolies. Okay. So like for example, if there is a lot of protection in EV sector, who will be the monopoly then? Obviously, there will be China's monopoly in this sector. So in that way, even in the market also monopolies will be created because of the protectionist measures. And trade, if you see impact on trade volume, already remember India's global export is less than 2%. Already India's global export percentage is less than 2%. Then obviously overall trade protection measures is going to impact the share of global exports of India as well. Okay. So these are some, and exports also, if you see, if trade protection measures of US are implemented and all, almost there will be drop of 6% of exports to US. With GTRA, there is some institution which is giving this statistics. Again, I told you, you don't have to explain what is GTRA in the exam. Not at all required. We have seen the toppers copies, just write GTRA or something, that's it. Okay, and the examiner is also not worried about what is GTRA. Okay. Next, investments. Reduce private sector investments. And friendshoring. These keyword has to come in the exam. As I told you, friendshoring will happen because global FDI flows will increasingly concentrate in the allied countries. Okay, this is called friendshoring. So this keyword should be there in the exam. Next, inflation. Obviously, you can write higher inflation impact will be there. And environment related. Recently, World Bank's relative CBM exposure, that carbon border adjustment mechanism exposure of EU index, it says that high exposure, India has a high exposure to CBAM. Okay, so just mention that World Bank's index, CBAM index, says that India has a high exposure. Next, policy level also, because of this protectionism measures and trade fragmentation and all, strategic autonomy in trade will be impacted a lot. Okay, so policy level also you can definitely mention. Now, can India benefit from trade war? Because I don't think the question will just be on India's impact and all. The question will be on two sides. They will say that critically examine. Obviously, they'll ask to critically analyze or critically examine. So once they ask critically examine, obviously you need to have some positive aspects of this trade protectionism also, because the economic survey and even the RBA and even the chief economic advisor also has said that this trade protectionism and global fragmentation can have some benefit for India as well. So what is this benefit? They say is basically our exposure to global trade is actually less. So just now I told you exports, what is the percentage? Global export expenditure exposure. Just now we discussed it is 2%. Okay. So when the exposure itself is less, then definitely the impact also will be kind of less. And GDP, India's GDP growth and all, largely it is based on domestic market, remember. So even the exposure also will be kind of less. MSMEs, if you see, India has actually advantage with the garments, textiles and toys. So in considering the global this trade war and all, in fact, Indian MSMEs can benefit because we are good at garments, textiles and so this is a kind of global golden opportunity for us. Next, in exports also, what is happening in China plus one? Yes, China plus one strategy. So exports also now what is happening? Supply chain diversification is happening among the countries. Now EU also wants to diversify its supply chain, and countries, Asian countries like Japan and South Korea, Taiwan also wants to diversify their supply chains. Then obviously India will benefit of it. And recently you can give example, Taiwanese companies have shifted their supply chains to India. This is given in the survey as well. Okay, so Taiwanese companies recently shifted their supply chains to India. Just one simple example, Taiwanese companies shifted to India. Next, manufacturing also. So this is called manufacturing reshoring is happening. So companies are expected to relocate their operations to India because India has better advantages. Okay, so competitive advantage is given recently, and because India also relatively has lesser tariffs compared to other countries. Like for example, if you compare Bangladesh and if you compare China and all, US tariffs are more on Bangladesh and China rather than on India. Okay, so high tariffs on Asian economies could be leveraged to India's advantage. This is what I'm talking about. So high tariffs on Asian economies could be leveraged by India because relatively the tariffs on India are relatively less compared to the other Asian economies. So in manufacturing also will definitely will benefit because of this war. Now, is it clear till here, everyone? So India can benefit from a trade war. Now, what solutions can you give to protect India? What solutions you can give? So give me some solutions. Because these are the keywords used in the questions. Either they'll use solutions, they'll use measures, they'll use critical analysis or critically examine. So for all these things, we have to prepare the answer. So already we have seen, yes, critically examine part we have done already. So now they'll ask you measures also, like what measures can be taken by India. So what measures can you tell me India should take? Strengthen secondary sector. Okay, industry sector should be strengthened. Very good. Basically, manufacturing sector, because most advantage is manufacturing sector now. So obviously, we need to strengthen manufacturing sector. Diversity in export basket. Very good. So there should be diversity in export basket. So we cannot just depend on China for our solar manufacturing, right? So there has to be diversity in the export basket. Trade diversification, very good. That's a very good point. Trade diversification you can use. Trade diversification is an important point. And manufacturing, focusing on manufacturing is very important. Yes, self-reliance also you can use. MSME, very good. That is what I was looking for, because MSMEs are the main focus areas, okay, to improve India's resilience, especially in the context of global trade fragmentation, because the growth actually comes from the MSMEs. Okay. Very good. Yeah, climate resilience in trade, that also is important. So India need to adopt climate resilience, especially in the context of this carbon border management adjustment tax and all. So India also should bring climate resilience. Yes, very good. Okay, so basic things anyways you will write, but for marks, yes, you have to mention some economic survey has said this or this committee has said this and all. If you mention 1 or 2 points of that, and in presentation wise, simply you write, okay, solutions given by economic survey in this way, 1, 2, and 3. That's it. Very simple presentation. Okay, so economic survey has said like regionalization of trade, the focus should be on regionalization of trade, nothing but like free trade agreements. Like for example, it gave that India is trying to sign agreement of free trade agreement with UK. In fact, with US also, it is already has started negotiation to sign some agreement. So you just mentioned regionalization of trade. Example, UK free trade agreement with UK. Okay, next it is saying on focusing on labor with required skills, so that this manufacturing sector can be boosted. So you can focus on availability of labor with required skills. Next, it focuses more on enhance trade competitiveness. Enhance trade. Yes, diversification you have already given, but focus on this keyword, trade competitiveness. How you do that? Basically, reduce trade costs and improve facilitation. Okay. Next, industry must continue to invest in quality. In quality. Okay, industry must continue to invest in quality. This is exact 3 things which have been given in the survey. Regionalization of trade, trade competitiveness, industry must invest in quality. Okay, so these words must come, and simply write in this way in the format how I showed in the we showed in the demo class. Simply mention economic survey has said this 3 points: trade diversification, trade competitiveness, and industry must adopt quality. Okay, simply. Okay, so don't waste much words there. And then for conclusion, again in conclusion format also we showed you simple conclusion formats like hence. Okay, what we have to do is make in India for the world should be the focus. Make in India for the world. Or you can say this calls for new strategic trade roadmap. Or you can say start relying on internal engines and domestic growth and focus on deregulation. So this also has been given by economic survey. So as a to protect us from trade fragmentation and all, there are 3 things. One thing, make in India for the world can happen. Second thing, there should be a strategic trade roadmap, or you can write in conclusion, India should focus more on internal engines and domestic growth. Okay, especially focus on deregulation. Okay, is this clear, everyone? How to write this answer? Now, immediately when you see this question, what is the blueprint that should come in mind is exactly this is the blueprint that should come in the mind, like what you have to write in the introduction. Okay, what diagram you can draw. Okay, and what economic variables you need to think about to write negatives and positives. And then what solution, unique solution you can use, like saying that economic survey has said this thing. And then just one-liner conclusion. One-liner conclusion. Again, do not write 3-4 lines conclusion. From now on, you just write one-line conclusion. That's more than enough. Hence, you say, and yes, India has to focus on this. Need of the hour is this, or you can just mention some good keywords. Okay. So now let us start with this. Once you see the question, okay, introduction, I told you what is the 15 words introduction you will write. Just mention about, yes, US, China you can mention, or you can also mention US, India. Okay. Yes, 25 tariffs on, especially aluminum and all this. So this is happening. So this one line introduction you can mention. So what is the diagram you are going to drop in this question? Trade protectionism, or you can call global trade fragmentation, GTF. Okay, so GTF you can mention. And so what are the dimensions you can mention here? So different type of protectionism, so trade fragmentation. What are the different types of protectionist measures? Tariffs, very good. Non-tariff measures, very good. Embargoes, yes. And anything related to? Yes, CBAM, very good, CBAM. And local market needs, or local regulations, requirements, local requirements, basically, local requirements. So in this way, you can draw the diagram. Now, negatives already we have discussed what negatives are there, what impact will happen. So we have seen. So just give me some statistics which we have given. So GDP will reduce by, according to United, 0.5%. Okay. You can just remember 0.5, or you can just 6.8 something. It will reduce to 6.5 or something. Yes, 6.9. So almost 0.4 or 0.5. So you can mention that. So this is one stat. Then for exports, what I have said, for US exports, especially US exports will be reduced by how much percentage? Just write example, US exports will reduce by 6%. Simple. Okay, anything else? What you will write for manufacturing? What is the keyword for manufacturing? What is happening in manufacturing? Friend shoring, very good. Friend shoring. So just that keyword is important. Just, and this friend shoring keyword should be in capital letters, or at least it should be in a box. Okay, important keywords. All keywords should be in a box. Like friend shoring is one keyword, should definitely be in a box. Remember that. Okay. Next, any other statistics still? Exports, yes. Exposure is also less than 2%. Yes, export super. So these are some statistics. Then positives will be there. Okay, still, yes, there are some positives for benefiting, and in that positives you can write reshoring. So manufacturing reshoring means many are coming. So reshoring you will underline. Any other important keyword which you will put in box in benefits? Taiwan example I have given. What is that keyword for Taiwan example? Supply chain diversification. Very good. If you are writing supply chain diversification, it has to be definitely in a box, and you write example. Example, what you will write? Yes, China plus one you can write, or you can say Taiwan is, yeah, iPhones and all. Yes, very good. Fine. So this one is good. Next, finally, small. If they don't have solutions, also you just try to write measures that can be taken, or solutions that India should adopt. So what are the three solutions you can write in short form? Yeah, focus on quality in manufacturing. Very good. Focus on quality in manufacturing. Now, given by economic survey, the keywords: trade regionalization. By heart the keywords, trade regional. See, this is a competitive exam. Remember, it is not a graduation exam. In graduation exam, if you have content, fine, you will just read and go. But this is a competitive exam. Definitely marks are relative. You have to by heart the things. If you do not by heart the things, that content will not come in the answers. If that content does not come in the answers, due to relative evaluation, you may get less marks. So by heart each and every keyword given in the slides. Okay, trade regionalization, quality, and one more aspect focused by the economic survey. Trade competitiveness, very good. Trade competitiveness, that is the keyword. Trade competitiveness. Okay, so trade competitiveness, trade regionalization, and quality of manufacturing. Very good. Now, finally, in conclusion, what you will write? One word. Hence, India should follow manufacturing, make in India for the world. Or you can also say deregulation, focus on deregulation. Yes, India needs a new strategic trade roadmap. Very good. India needs a trade. So this is how you buy hard the things for the exam as well. Exactly, this is how you do it for revision as well. So I am showing it, though it is taking some time. I'm clearly showing you how to buy hard the things as well. Okay. So introductions, and then what macroeconomic variables you want to write. That also you need to remember, and then solutions, and then even conclusion also try to buy hard and try to use them wherever possible in the exam. So till here it is clear, everyone? Okay, now moving to what is required for Vikshit Bharat. So this basically we did not write it as an answer or something. This is just to brainstorm for you. So what is required for Vikshit Bharat? Can you just give me some variables in this to write? What is required for Vikshit Bharat? This is just to brainstorm. Okay, this is not as such a question or answer. This is just to brainstorm. Yes, what is required for Vikshit Bharat? GDP has to increase. Very good. So almost GDP growth should be on an average 8%. Remember that. Okay. So I'll give you some statistics to remember for the exam. So if you're writing what is required for Vikshit Bharat, definitely start with GDP. And GDP, how much growth rate should be there to achieve Vikshit Bharat by 20? On an average, it has to be 8%. Remember that. Okay. So that is just an example. And any other economic variable? Okay. Skilling. Very good. Skilling of labor, or I will call it employment only. Okay. So how much employment has to be generated for Vikshit Bharat, which is given in the survey also. Remember these stats. Okay. For the exam, again, it is also simply 8. Remember 8, 8. Again, it is 80 lakhs. Okay. 80 lakhs employment is required again to attain Vikshit Bharat by 2047. Means that much jobs have to be created. Skilling and employment. Very good. Next, any other variable for Vikshit Bharat? Skilling, GDP. Investment. Investment is a very big variable, right? Okay. So the investment rate should be at least 35% of the GDP to achieve Vikshit Bharat. Okay, these are some statistics. Yes, anyways, I have given the statistics. Don't worry, it is in the slide. But just I'm trying to tell you how to answer the question. Like if they ask you Vikshit Bharat, yes, the main variable should be there. Example should be there, or statistics. Main variable, statistics. Main variable, statistics. Okay. So in this way, investment, labor, yes, private sector, manufacturing, very good. Manufacturing also you can mention. Any other variable? Manufacturing. Gender inclusive means inclusive. See, inclusive word, everything will come. Gender and all the inclusive words will come. So just use the inclusive word. Okay, inclusive growth. Yes. Anything else? Okay, manufacturing. Okay, ease of doing business and all. It will come under regulation. Okay, already we discussed, right? Deregulation is important. In deregulation, everything will come. In deregulation. Very good. Vikshit Bharat is basically dependent on energy security. Energy security. There is a very good keyword in economic survey. You can just note down this in your copy. Uh, Revenue security requires energy security. This is a very keyword, good keyword. You can use this in an essay also. Revenue security requires energy security. Okay, so you can use this as well. Yes, national investment plan, that also you can mention. So in investments it will come. Okay. Infrastructure, very good. So this energy and all will come under infrastructure only. So you can say infrastructure and all. Even you can say port-led infrastructure. Can we say? So what is this port-led infrastructure? Port-led infrastructure development and all, or port-led growth. So these type of keywords you can use. Coastal economic zone. It is called coastal economic zones. Yes. Now, very good. Without innovation, we will not be able to achieve Vikshit Bharat only. So innovation, examples, yes, Atal Innovation Mission and all, you can definitely mention. Very good. So always this and I will obviously be there in the exam. Always remember this. These three I's are very important. Like one is infrastructure, another is investments, another is innovation, and finally all these three will result in inclusiveness. So in that way, these four I's you have to remember always. When you are unable to generate a point, these four I's will definitely help you. One is infrastructure, another is investment, another is innovation, and finally inclusive. Okay. So remember these four I's for the exam. Easily it will generate 3 or 4 points in the exam. Okay. And yes, very good. Education. Education. So 100% literacy is important for Vikshit Bharat. Education is very good point. Okay. And one health and education. Apart from that, one unique point always in economy, I told you, you should write one that unique point, that is climate resilience also is important for Vikshit Bharat. Do not forget this one point in the exam, climate resilience also, because you can see any economic survey related to this economy growth and all, definitely one point is climate resilience. Okay. Digital, very good. Digital economy. Digital economy. Always give example of public public, what is that? DPI, yes. Always give the example of DPI. Okay, digital public infrastructure. Digital public infrastructure. So this one example you can give in digital economy as well. So all these points are already there in your syllabus and already questions have been asked. Now what we have done is simply we are segregating the things and giving you some statistics and examples. Yes, Gati Shakti and all you can write in infrastructure. Now see, GDP, what we require is 8% growth. Investments, almost investment rate should be 35% of GDP. Non-farm jobs, how many are required? 8 lakhs. Education, almost 100%. Manufacturing sector, focus on MSMEs. And what is the keyword you are going to write this time, which is focused on economic survey? D, focus on deregulation. Okay. Deregulation. Yes. Next, infrastructure. Yes, you can write Gati Shakti and National Rail Plan. All these things you can write. Skill already we have. Okay. Skill India Mission. So different innovation already. AI robotics focus should be there. Digital focus on digital public infrastructure. Then regulatory reforms or deregulation as well. You can write. Okay. So basically this regulatory reforms, deregulation, and one legal aspect also you can write regarding like corruption, reducing the corruption and judicial reforms. Okay. That also is generally mentioned in the exam. Judicial reforms are required and reducing corruption as well. Corruption also you can mention for Vikshit Bharat. Okay, apart from that, I told you one environmental aspect, that is climate part, you can write. Yeah, space and defense sectors. Sectors when you write, right? Or if you write FDI. So recently what happened in space sector? So FDI in space sector has been allowed. Okay, privatization. Yes, FDI in space sector also. So if you are writing this sectors and all, FDI and all, you can mention as examples. Okay, so now these are some of the questions. These two questions are important for coming 2025. So I think you will write a very good answer, and I think almost 10 to 15 points you have now to write for Vikshit Bharat as well as trade fragmentation. Okay. Now moving to the next question, which I told you this year, especially for this liberalization question, they are going to ask you deregulation in the exam. So mostly they'll ask you what are the problems with deregulation and what should be done for deregulation and all, and why this deregulation is important, especially in the context of recent trade protectionism measures or trade global trade fragmentation. Now, what economic survey says that deregulation, why it is important basically in the context is a lot of this global trade fragmentation happening. So in conclusion, what we have said here, in conclusion also, internal engines, start relying on internal engines and domestic levers. Okay. Start relying on internal engines and domestic levers. So if we start relying on domestic levers and internal engines, what is the first reform required for India? The first reform required will be definitely deregulation. So to reinvigorate growth, the most important part will be deregulation. So now can you tell me what will be your one-line introduction in the context of current affairs? What will be your one-line introduction for this? Simply give the context. Context introduction also is very good in the exam. You don't have to write always statistics. Okay. Simply say that, yes, in the context of global trade fragmentation and all, the survey says that we need to focus more on deregulation of the sectors and focus inside, okay, inwards. And the two keywords which we just discussed, what are those in the conclusion words? You can use it in introduction here. So what are those two words? Domestic levers and internal engines. Very good. Internal engines. These are the words that you can use in the introduction as well. So the focus should be on domestic levers and internal engines. So that is the reason in this context, deregulation will become very important. So in that way, you write the same words. Don't again say use the same words, right? Rather than again remembering a lot of words, it's better to use the same words in your introduction. That will be easy for you. Okay. So domestic internal engines and domestic levers. So same thing I have given here. So nothing extra. So you just say that the policy making should be shifted inwards. Okay. The policy making should shift inwards and expectations, lot of expectations should not be from external sector. Okay. Why? Because these are the words used because the outside what is happening is the need to find growth avenues in a export challenged, environment challenged, energy challenged, and emissions challenged world means we need to act on deregulation with a greater sense of urgency. So what is happening outside? Can we draw a diagram for this to show why deregulation is important? Okay, just say that why deregulation is important, because outside there are a lot of other like factors which is making deregulation important in India. So what are those outside factors? Exports challenged, environment challenged, energy challenged, and emissions challenged world. Okay, so these things also you can just mention as a diagram as well. So one diagram I told you in presentation in the beginning to take that one space after the half page. Okay, so like let us say in introduction. So this is the page. Okay, so already UPSC question will be here. So some space is already taken by the question. So 2 lines introduction you will write, and then small diagram if possible you can draw here, and then here only 3 lines should be there. Okay, so then only it will be perfect, and you will reduce the words also which you can write. Okay, after writing 3 lines in the next page, yes, you can mention rest of the like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points, and then here you can write initiatives or solutions or measures 1, 2, or 3, and then you can write hence 2 line conclusion. This is exact how you will write the answers. Anyways, we'll give you four questions today, and we'll check that if you're following this presentation or not. Okay. Now regulation problems. Okay. Before going to that regulation problem slide, I would like you to give me some regulation problems. So what is happening with regulation problems in India? So what regulation problems are you seeing in India? What regulation problems are you seeing in India? Regulation. So regulatory, deregulation, right? Regulation. So regulation, some over-regulation is there, right? What is that over-regulation we are talking about? Especially see, there are three important things where these regulations are there. First of all, understand the concept here. One is labor. Very good. Labor is one dimension. Any other dimension? Environmental regulations, very good. One is labor regulation, another is environmental regulations, means basically safeguards. Okay. Anything else? Land. Very good. Very good. Land. Labor regulations, environment regulations, land regulations, and yes, in some sectors, investments also, like FDI regulations and or investment regulations. Okay. So investment regulations, labor regulations, environmental regulations, land regulations are also there. Okay, so these are basically the main regulatory challenges. Now you know clearly. I'll give you some statistics. You just have to add some statistics to this. That's more than enough. Okay, so so these are the basic regulations, regulatory problems happening in India. So simply, for example, in environment, can we say that dispute of development versus environment? Okay, development versus environment dispute is going on, and because of that, there are environmental regulations and impacting on investments. Conservation versus development, yes. Next, in labor regulations, can you give me example? Labor regulations. In labor regulations, there are working hours. Let us say gig employees, very good. Women, very good. There are a lot of regulations on women. Okay, that also we'll discuss now. And in investment regulations, we can say in some sectors FDIs are still restricted. Okay, that also you can mention. And what about land regulations? Can you give me some examples of land regulations? Like for example, building bylaws. A lot of building bylaws are there. Okay, you should not construct this, you should not construct that. Only some part of the land has to be used. All these building bylaws are there. Okay. Yeah, delay in acquisition and compensation also very good. That also you can mention for land. So these are some of the regulations. Try to remember and just give some important statistics. I'll give you for few things, only few things. Rest you write it in a normal format. Okay. See, example can be written for 3 or 4 points. That's enough. Don't write example for every point. Not required. Okay. 3 or 4, 5 points. You are writing examples. That's more than enough. Okay. So especially regulations. If you see the biggest industry which is affected by regulations is MSME rather than large enterprises. And employment, if you see, factories regulation makes it cheaper for 150 workers. So when there are 300 workers, what these companies do, they have 150 workers rather than 300. If there is 300, lot of regulations are there on 300 work factory. So that is one example you can give. In women especially, the survey mentions that top 10 states, 139 prohibitions are there on women to practice in factories. Okay. Top 10 states, 139 prohibitions are there on women to participate in the factory process. This is a very important statistics you can give for regulation, problems in regulation. In wages, again, same thing. Like if the workers want to work overtime and all, the regulation says that definitely they have to pay twice. But again, because of this regulation, what is happening? Obviously, no one is going to pay twice. And because of this, informal wages are being promoted. Okay. Next, increased costs, high cost of compliance. Obviously, for MSMEs, there's all these things are high cost of compliance. And inefficient building bylaws. You can see sometimes what is happening. Indian factory owner sometimes, if he has 5,000 square meter, almost 69% is sometimes said that they have to forego for building standards. So all these things are basically, you can say, resource inefficiency. Okay, so clearly you can say, is the land being efficiently used here? Where 69% is just going for compliance. Okay, so resource inefficiency is high in India because of especially regulations. And a lot of regulations impact innovation and creative destruction as well. So these are basically regulation problems. Now, some like areas have been identified, like construction sector. Some unique keywords have been given by the survey. Like in construction sector, there should be as of right development. Like for example, that landowner is there, right? He should have as of right development, especially in few sectors. Okay, not in everything, but in especially in few sectors, as of right development keyword you can use. This is basically used in USA. Okay, as of right development. And in Korea, what happens is rather than looking for working hours every day, Korea follows a principle of average over 6 months. Okay, so the working hours principle, it has to average over 6 months rather than looking for everyday working hour limit. Okay, and then billing bylaws also in Japan. What happened? So rather than focusing only on one this thing, mixed use development has been allowed, especially in urban areas in Japan. So just like example, you write this thing, example USA, write this thing, example Korea, and write building by a mixed use development, example Japan. Okay, so it is easy to write in one line in the exam as well. Okay, so these are some of the identified areas for deregulation. Apart from that, I have given some keywords here. Can you tell me what keyword has to add this to make sense for solutions? Like I am giving you solutions now. So approach to reform solutions. So what keyword has to be here for compliance? Reduce compliance burden. Very good. Reduce compliance burden. Very good. Okay. Next, process. Simplify process. Yes. Streamline. The word always is used as streamline. Okay. Example, single window. Very good. Example, single window clearances. Now for information, especially in regulation field, information should be what? Digitized. Very good. Digitized. So digitize the information. Now legal safeguards. So what is lacking in legal safeguards in India? What is lacking in legal safeguards? Awareness. Okay. Awareness of legal safeguards. Very good. Or you can say enforcement, or you can say transparency. Transparency is lacking. Okay. So transparency in the legal safeguards. What about regulation now? Any word for regulation? Just now we saw deregulation. Deregulation is already a word. Anything else? One keyword we have seen is risk-based regulation. Risk-based regulation is a very good keyword. Risk-based regulation must be followed. See, for example, some sectors there is no as such any risk. So there basically we can easily deregulate, right? Okay. But some sectors maybe there is a very high risk. There you may have some regulation. So risk-based regulation keyword you use. Next, standards and controls. What is the keyword for standards and controls? Universal, or you can say, yeah, train the MSMEs in standards and controls, prudent standards and controls. Okay, this type of keywords you can have. And tariffs, what should happen to tariffs? Like electricity tariffs and all, they have to be obviously reduced. Okay, rationalize. Very good. Rationalize keyword is very good. So rationalize keyword or reduce keyword can be used. Rationalize tariffs. So now I think you can easily write deregulation also. You just have to have these words like compliance, process, information, legal safeguards, regulation, standard controls, and tariff. These are the words that go in the deregulation question. So I have given the keywords here. You just have to go through reduce compliance, streamline, digitize, provide incentives, standardize means liberalize standards and controls. This is the keyword you have to use. Liberalize standards and controls. For example, I have given example also. What does liberalize standards and controls mean? Removing prohibitions on women from working in factory process. How many prohibitions are there? What is the statistics? How many provisions are there? In the top 10 states, almost there are 139 prohibitions on women working in factory. So that liberalize standards and controls. Next, reduce tariffs, like reducing electric tariffs, and use risk-based regulation. Risk-based regulation. For example, what is happening in countries like Australia, Canada, and all, private parties are involved in regulation, whereas in India, only in the beginning, Private party is there, but rest of the entire it is controlled by government. So what they're saying is private parties must be also included in the regulation process, especially in Australia and Canada. It is basically public-private partnership in deregulation. Okay, so that example you can give in the exam. One simple like just example in Australia and Canada, PPP is used in regulation. That's it. Okay, then there should be transparency in the legal standards. Okay, I hope now you can easily write the deregulation question as well. So, in conclusion, one word, hence, what India should follow is minimum necessary and maximum feasible approach for regulation has to be followed. Okay, minimum necessary and maximum feasible approach for should be followed, or you can say deregulation has butterfly effect. So, small acts of deregulation will have big waves in the entrepreneurship, investment, and innovation. So, either you write butterfly effect or you write minimum necessary, maximum, feasible. Minimum necessary, maximum feasible approach. Exact this approach is given in the survey also. Okay. So one liner, that's it. One line conclusion. Simple say, hence what we require is minimum necessary, feasible, minimum maximum feasible approach for deregulation. Okay. So we'll just do revise and take a break of 5 to 10 minutes and then we'll continue the class again. So we'll just revise this. So tell me here, in introduction, what are you going to write in deregulation? So why we require deregulation? Yes. We need, in the context of global fragmentation, we need to focus on internal engines and domestic levers, and that is the reason to focus on this. We need definitely deregulation. Okay, so Canada and diagram also there are a lot of challenges happening in the economy, which make sure that India need to look inwards. So what are those challenges? Like export related challenges are there, climate related challenges are there. Okay, all those challenges, environmental related challenges are happening. So trade protectionism, all these are happening. So that is the reason we need to focus on inwards. Okay, inwards led development. Next, what are the deregulation problems we discussed? Just give me statistics. Okay, I know you can develop easily the dimensions. Just give me statistics. For example, for bylaws of buildings, I gave you one statistic. If it is 500 square feet, almost 69% will go. Okay, almost 69%. And for women, how many, for 10 states, how many? 139 provisions are there. Okay, 139. So these type of statistics you can use. And okay, so these are a few deregulation and then solutions. Just remember the keywords for solutions. So if you can create an acronym for, any new, like any short word for that, for solutions, you can just create one. For example, there is, what are the key words? C, compliance. Can you give me the words? Compliance, tariffs, legal safeguards, process, information, regulation, standards and controls. Okay, so you can create something, you can try to create for this and remember for the exam. Okay, it will not be easy to remember if you don't have any like acronym and all for this. Okay. Okay, now we'll take a break of 5 minutes and then we'll again discuss. Okay, let's start the discussion. Sorry, resume the discussion. So next topic will be FDI. FDI again, why we are discussing FDI this year? Again, recently there are a lot of articles related to FDA, especially in current affairs. The most important current affairs related to FDA is according to the data of DPIIT. Uh, the cumulative amount of FDI inflows into India has crossed $1 trillion milestone. Even PIB also has covered, almost every newspaper has covered this. And a lot of discussion is happening on FDIs because though there is some positive about 1 trillion milestone, but at the same time, in the current affairs, again, there is also current affairs stating that net FDI inflows. Net means even FDI goes out also, right? So the FDI outflows also are very high. And because of that, if you see net FDI inflows are very, very less relatively in the country. Okay, so this articles are also going on. So that is the reason I have given two introductions for you. One introduction, you will say that yes, according to the recent data of the Department of Industry, the cumulative amount is 1 trillion. If the question is negative in the sense, you can say that in recently FDI has dropped, especially the net FDI inflows. Net FDI inflows have dropped from 2024 to 2023. Okay, so these are some introductions you can mention. So sector-wise FDI diagrams, again, simply you see whatever they ask you in FDI, simply draw a diagram showing that. So which sector has the highest FDI in India? Simple diagram. You don't have to draw entire thing. You draw a simple circle. Okay. So 16% is basically what? 16% is highest. Sector will be services. Okay. Then there is 15%. Then there is computers and software. Then there is 7% trade. And then there are telecommunications, and then say others. Okay. Don't write everything. Just say others. So just you can draw a circle here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. In that way, you can mention services, computers, and trading and telecommunication. The rest you can just say others. Okay. So and also you can also, if possible, show state-wise also. So state-wise highest goes to almost 31%. So 31% goes to which state? Maharashtra. Okay, Maharashtra. So again, 2, 3 states. Don't have to mention again all the states. Just mention Maharashtra. Next, mention Karnataka. Okay, and then mention Gujarat. That's it, and others. That's enough. So these are the two diagrams which has to come in, definitely come in the FDI question in the exam. Okay. So already we have discussed diagrams for trade. We have discussed diagrams for even the deregulation, and now we are discussing diagram for FDA as well. So FDA, any question comes in FDA, you just draw these two diagrams. That's more than enough. Okay. And recently there is some regulation on FDA and FPA. So this slide I have given, I'll not be discussing this slide because you know already the differences. Just for revision sake, I have given this slide. You just go through this slide. Okay. Now the important question is, first thing, let us discuss more on why FDA is a challenge. We'll discuss negative first. Okay. Then we'll go to the positive aspect. So why FD is a challenge recently, especially if you see the inflows, net inflows, if you have seen, net FDI inflows have reduced from 2023 to 2024. So now what could be the reason? So what will be the again economic variables, macroeconomic variables you can use in this question? What will be the macroeconomic variables you can use in this question? Again, same thing, global trade fragmentation you can use, right? Global trade fragmentation has happened. Okay. And this protectionist measures, the protectionist measures are there. Okay. And those things you can mention. Yes, strengthening dollar, very good. Strengthening dollar. Capital flight, yes, capital flight. Capital flight is the output. So what are the basic reasons we are asking? Why do you think FDI is reducing? Okay. Partial capital convertibility, okay, fine. Regulations, very good. Regulations, very good. Just now we discussed, na, regulations. That is one of the very important factor. Okay, regulations. US interest rates, yes. So US has increased the interest rates, then obviously there will be capital flight. Okay. Anything else? Geopolitical tensions, yes. Ease of doing business, yes. Tax issues, ease of doing business. Tax also is important, right? Tax regulations. Okay. Security, okay. Corruption, legal also point you can definitely write. I told you one point is always legal. Security issues also you can mention this. So these are some points FDI why you can problems are there. So I have just mentioned here and given some statistics. You just have to go through 2, 3 statistics. Rest you just write normal points. Okay, like tariff measures are there, concentration in services, then global what is happening, global trade fragmentation, net FDI inflows. Companies are going out, especially when you are writing companies. In fact, a lot of Indian companies are going abroad. Okay, are setting up their functions and all in the abroad. Okay, so this is also happening with India. And investments also, yes, more or less have reduced. Then there are a lot of regulatory norms, legal like corruption and all is happening. Okay, labor issues are also like, especially if you see Amazon and urban and Uber policies. And then there is development versus environment. Yes, Flipkart you can mention. And then there is intellectual property rights issue also is going on. So all these problems are basically affecting the FTA. Okay, so anyways, this you can write, but I want you to substantiate your points as well in the exam. So how do you substantiate? Simply say that net FDI inflows have been reduced literally from almost 28 billion last year to 9.8 billion. Okay, so this statistics has to come in the exam, 28 billion to 9.8. And share of global FDI declined from 6% in 2022 to 2% in 2023. Global FDI share in global FDI also decreased. Earlier, India's share in global FDI used to be almost 6% in 2020. But United is saying that recently it has reduced to 2%. Again, this could be one of the reason could be friendshoring. Okay, so those type of things you can mention. And OECD also is saying that FDI regulatory restrictiveness index. So it clearly says that India's FDI restrictions remain higher. So OECD's FDI regulatory restrictive index clearly says that India's FDI restrictions remain higher. So just defend your points with 2 or 3 statistics. That's more than enough. Okay, when you write a point also, write example down. Okay, sometimes you can write example with the point if the point is less, if the point is short, but if the point is bit lengthy, just write example down so that you can take the extra space also. Okay, so in this way you can easily fill the space in the paper as well. Okay, so these points should come like example OECD FDI regulatory or example FDI inflows have reduced, like you can draw a small bar graph also from 28 billion to almost 9.8 billion. Okay, you can show in a bar graph also in the exam. So this presentation should come when you write the test series. Okay, see why I'm discussing all these things in the test series. We want you to mention all these aspects. Okay, so some diagram has to definitely be there and one line introductions and at least the macroeconomic variables wise based on that you can write points in the exam. Okay. Now, there are some positives for this also. What the RBI says that, even the economic survey says that the FDI net inflows, though they are less, though the FDI outflows are very high, the survey says that it's sign of a mature market. Did you understand this point? Sign of a mature market means basically what is happening is that more or less, like we are talking about that capital convertibility, right? Fully, anyways, it is not there in India, but still, okay, this FDI outflows, if they're going immediately also, like there is easy entry and exit. Okay, flexibility, that flexibility is there. So RBI says that though this FDI outflows have increased, this clearly shows a sign of mature market where foreign investors can enter and exit smoothly. So this is how you defend the question as well. Like if they ask you critically examine the FDI inflows have decreased and all, because one FDI question already asked in PYQs. And recently in the economic survey, separate chapter is there for FDA. Okay. So that is the reason we are focusing on this FDA question. So you have to know both the things. One is the problems already we have discussed. One kind of positive aspects are there. They are saying that overall, if you see FDA inflows have increased. I have given the stat here. So overall, if you see 33 billion to 42 billion. And another stat also you have already cumulative FDA has touched $1 trillion. Okay. Now FDI outflow is one of the reasons also Indian companies are investing outside. That is also a good thing, right? Okay, so FDI outflows as such is not bad because Indian companies are also investing outside because recently overseas direct investment guidelines have been liberalized. Overseas guidelines have been liberalized. Simple, right? That FDI outflow by Indian companies. Example, overseas direct investment guidelines liberalized. Now, FDI repatriation is happening, especially this is also one good sign because global investors who have invested are making profits out of the IPOs now. So they are selling their share, especially recently in the IPO of Hyundai and Swiggy. The global investors have exited by making profits. Overall, you can see it is also a good thing. Okay. Yes, they are making profits. So that is also one reason why there was FDI repatriation from India to these global investors. So basically, the FDI inflows or net inflows are less, but some positive thing is RBI says that it's a sign of mature market and overall inflows have increased. In fact, Indian companies are investing outside. And one more thing, the global investors have made profits, especially from the IPOs like Hyundai and Swiggy. So these are the things. So one major thing they may ask you, according to the PYQs, what we have seen is they will ask you this question, especially what are the factors driving the change in FDI investments? Means they'll ask you a very broad question saying that overall this 1 trillion it has reached. So it has reached 1 trillion FDI. What are the factors driving the change? So what will you write dimensions again here? Again, remember from the macroeconomic variables. So see, this entire chapter is based on macroeconomic variables only. If you remember the variables properly, you can definitely write a very good answer, but you have to by heart the statistics. Okay. So factors driving the change in FDI investments. Very good. Tax, especially example GST. Okay, you can write GST or you can write PAN 2.0, anything, any example you can mention. Okay. PLIs, very good. PLIs, production incentives and all. Ease of doing business, very good. Factors, one of the factors is ease of doing business. Trade competitiveness also you can mention. In fact, India has increased its rank, right, in trade competitiveness. So that example also you can give. Okay. So why do you think India is getting better FDI investments? One is UOB you have given. Young working class, or you can say yes, proper demographic dividend is there. Okay, labor force. Okay, proper labor force is there. Political stability, very good. Political stability is there. Diversification is happening. Just now we discussed in the first what diversification is happening. Supply chain diversification is happening in India, and India is placed in a better position. Good entry exit, very good entry exit. Just now we discussed better entry exit policies are there. That is also reason why FDI is coming. Labor force, very good. Deregulation, era of India, or you can say deregulation. So deregulation also is happening in India, right? So because of that deregulation also, lot of FDIs are coming. Example, give me example here. Recent deregulation. In which sector we have seen? Space, yes, space, defense. Okay, so deregulation. Insurance sector, very good. Insurance. Recently in budget 2025-26, insurance percentage has been increased. Okay, from 76 to 100. And the critical minerals, yes, in critical minerals also, private sector has been allowed. So private sector participation and all also improved. So just whatever you have learned for prelims also, like those critical minerals and all we taught in the prelims, right? Those things you can actually use as examples in the mains as well. Okay. So now coming to what are the factors? So exact factors have been given by PIB. So in the PIB, there is a proper article saying what are the factors driving the change in FDI investments recently. So it says that ease of doing business, yes, the rank has improved from 140 to 63. And competitiveness and innovation. The World Competitive Index, India has improved its rank by three ranks positions it has improved. Green investments. India is actually focusing more on green investments and especially it is attracting more green investments. India ranks third largest recipient of greenfield investments according to World Investment Report. Okay, according to World Investment Report, India is third largest recipient of greenfield projects. 1000 plus projects, yes. Policy reforms also, there are the 100% FDI under automatic route, especially recently in many sectors, especially like insurance. Income tax has been amended to abolish angel tax. Example, abolish angel tax. You can just mention example, abolish angel tax. Now, revamp of bilateral investment treaties. This tomorrow, Bright Sir will be covering this one because a lot of articles have been come under bilateral investment treaties recently. So under investment models and all, these things you have to know. So revamp of bilateral investment treaties. Especially budget has focused on that. So budget is focusing on revamp of bilateral investment treaties. Next sectors, new sectors like space sector and insurance sectors have been liberalized. Okay. Now, like in the presentation, we showed you in the demo class, sometimes I told you at before conclusion, you can write initiatives before conclusion. So tell me, and don't write a lot of initiatives, right? Just two initiatives or three, not more than that. So give me three initiatives related to FDA. To promote FDA. Green investments, PLIs, very good PLIs, deregulations. Okay. So to promote FDI, India has taken up, yes, National Industrial Corridor projects, production linked incentives, foreign investment facilitation portal, state investment summits, okay, PM Gati Shakti, Startup India, Make in India. So the survey that PIB also mentioned these things. Like these are some of the initiatives taken to promote. Yeah, Niti Aayog, yeah, EOB index also, very good. Okay. Even business regulation rules are also there, right? So that also you can mention. So solutions, particular solutions have been given in the survey. I told you, right, in survey there is one particular topic on FDI. So in that, they are like what it says is promote FDI in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, promote bilateral investment treaties to promote FDIs, and formation of separate rules and procedures for manufacturing and service special economic zones. So basically what is happening is that earlier there are same rules for manufacturing and service says, but what this Baba Kalyani committee says that there need to be separate rules for manufacturing and service says. Okay. So you write the committee also simply again in the presentation wise, you write this and when you're writing committee, it has to be definitely in a box and mention Baba Kalyani committee. In this way you mention, don't mention in this way. If you mention in this way, it is clearly visible to the examiner. Okay, Baba Kalyani committee. Next, the coastal economic zone has been envisaged to facilitate port-led industrialization and promote FDI in this sector. Okay, and there should be predictable tax and policy regime. Example, advanced pricing agreements. Okay, so these things you can mention in the solutions. Now coming to the conclusion, so there are two conclusions you can mention in the exam. One is chief economic advisor. He says that what is required for India is modern responsive regulatory framework to create a growth conducive investment. So basically growth conducive FDI or investment, what we require is modern responsive regulatory framework. Or if it is very difficult, you leave this, simply write, Raghuram Rajan has said that India needs to be more proactive than reactive in the FDI sector. Okay, it should be more proactive than reactive. Should focus more on long-term production framework. It should focus more on long-term production framework and should be more proactive rather than reactive. I think this is very easy to write. Okay, so India should be more proactive and reactive and focus more on long-term production framework to promote FDA. Okay, so this is clear, right? Clear, everyone? So FDI question also you can handle. So for FDI, we need just simple introductions. So if it is positive, what is the introduction you will write? $1 trillion. Yes, you can just write $1 trillion cumulative FDA. $1 trillion cumulative FDA. That is the keyword. Okay. So now, what are the factors which has driven this cumulative FDA 1 trillion? What are the factors? Keywords. Just give me the statistics. Okay. See, the tax and all you will remember. Just give me the examples. Ease of doing business, very good. 63, very good. Next. World Competitiveness Index, rank 40, very good. Next. Green investments, very good. Third largest. Who said this? World Investment Report. Okay. Basically, it is given by UNCTAD. If you don't remember World Investment Report, you just say UNCTAD. Okay. So green investments, very good. Next. Policy reforms. Yes, 100% FDI in recently. Budget 100% FDI in insurance. Very good. Insurance. Okay. So I think this is more than enough to defend your answer. Okay. So these are the 4-5 statistics you can defend your answer. Then coming to the conclusion part, what will you write in conclusion for FDA? Simple conclusion. Raghuram Rajan. Yes, we need to be proactive rather than reactive. That's it. Long-term production framework should be there to promote FTA. Okay. Now coming to government budgeting. So sorry, not government budgeting, gender budgeting. Government budgeting part Bright Sir will be taking care of those 4 areas. Okay, so I will be discussing on gender budgeting. Okay, so gender budgeting, what is happening and what should be included in the answers. I'll give you simple solutions for this. Try to just remember them, revise them, and if a question is asked, you just write in that format. Okay, I'll give you one diagram also for this. Any gender budgeting question, you first draw that diagram. Okay, anything, any gender budget, whatever they ask, the critical analysis or anything they are asking, you just draw that diagram on the right side of the paper and just box it. Okay, what is the diagram? I'll show you. So before that, again, you don't have to write everything here. Choose your own one context introduction. Okay, you can say that recently Union Budget 2025 has 4 key population groups. One is women. That is one introduction. Or you can say recently one of like almost there was 37% increase in the gender budget. Okay, 37%. Or total, if you see, 8.8. Total 8.8 or 37. Any one you remember. Don't try to remember both the things, not required. So either remember 37 increase, or if you see, or overall, if you see in total budget, there was 8.8%. Okay, budget 8.8. And this is almost highest allocation in the 2 decades. And some of the ministries, additional ministries like railways, pharmaceuticals, lands, waterways has integrated gender budgets recently. Okay, 12 additional ministries have integrated gender budgets recently. So these are the basic why it is focused in the current affairs and all. So introduction, I will leave it to you. Use anyone, and this diagram, whatever the question is on gender budgeting, this diagram has to be there on the right side of the paper. Okay, small, you can just, if this is the paper, okay, just in this way, you can write answer gender budgeting, part A, part B, part C. Part A is 100% and part B is 30 to 99% and less than 30% women beneficiaries. Okay. So I hope you will definitely draw this diagram in the exam. Okay. Gender budget, part A, part B, part C. So part A is basically 100% women beneficiaries. Part B is 30 to 99% women beneficiaries, whereas part C is less than 30% women beneficiaries. So why do you think gender budget is required now? So any negatives or positives you can tell why it is required? Again, some macroeconomic variables you can look for why gender budgeting. Like for example, let us say, okay, inclusive growth, okay, fine, inclusive growth. Statistics wise, for example, labor force participation rate, very good. What is the gap in the labor force participation rate? Any idea? What is the gap in the labor force participation? Because the gap is very high. That is the reason we require gender budgeting as well. The gap is very high. Okay, the gap is almost around 30%, more than 30%. Okay, so more than 30% there is gap between men and female labor force participation. Okay, so that is also one reason why we require gender budgeting. Anything else? Growth, yes, GDP growth. GDP growth, if women participation is there, automatically almost you can say 1 billion will be easily added to the GDP. Okay, so in that way you can say GDP growth is. Anything else? So GDP is one variable already we have seen. Employment like labor force participation we have seen. Okay. More investments. I also you can mention investments. And especially inclusive growth, care economy, very good. Use the same words, care economy. So general budgeting, focus on care economy. It will result in more monetization of the economy, more monetization. Feminization of agriculture, yes. Because of that also, we need more gender budgeting. Feminization of agriculture. 70% of the labor you see will be female. Information, very good. Lot of information is there in female workers. So that is also one reason why we need gender budgeting. Okay. And apart from this, technical things also you can mention. So a lot of states are not following gender budgeting, okay, regulations, or monitoring is not proper, allocations are not proper. All those things also you can mention. Okay. Very good. So I'll give you just some simple stats why gender budgeting is required. So you can see a 37% point gap remains when compared to men's labor. So 37% gap is there. Ambitious target of 70% women participation in economic activity by 2047. So when we are saying a lot of ambitious by 2047 ambitious target is there, then definitely we require gender budgeting. 90% of the India's working women engaged in informal sector. That is also one reason. And stagnation in few ministries such as labor and MSMEs in gender budgeting. In gender budgeting, more or less the budget for gender has been stagnant in labor and MSMEs. And 46% of the total Manrega funds are for women, but 60% beneficiaries are women. So whereas, but the fund allocated is only 46% for women. So clearly this shows discrepancies in the scheme. Okay. And there are a lot of systemic barriers, and then lack of mandatory budgeting framework across all government tiers, like central, state, and so lack of mandatory. There is no as such mandatory framework for all the tiers of the government, like central, state, and municipal. So this is basically why we require gender budget. Okay. Now, recently, I think in the current affairs, we have seen Beijing plus 30. If you remember, I think Bright Sir has covered this Beijing plus 30. So you know that this declaration, Beijing Declaration, is based on is for basically women empowerment. Okay. So what happened recently is UN report on Beijing plus 30 review. Especially three things have been identified in India, especially for India. Okay. So for India, it says that inadequate allocation tracking is there. Inadequate allocation tracking, absence of disaggregated data, and uneven adoption at subnational levels. Like in the states are not following or not adopting gender budgeting. Disaggregated data is not available, like men and women. And then there is inadequate allocation tracking. So these are the barriers for this gender budgeting. Gender responsive budgeting, GRB, gender responsive budgeting. So this simply when you're answering, you can just mention recently UN report and just simply write 3 keywords. Okay, so allocation tracking inadequate, disaggregated data is not available, uneven adoption by states. Okay, so this also you can include in your answer. Now coming to budget measures, like they will ask you recently Union budget 2025 and 26, what measures it has taken to promote gender budget. This type of question also can come. What are the measures and all? So all the measures I have given here, you just have to by heart them. So for example, for Skill India program on Manrega or NRLM, 52% of the women and girls basically has been allocated. So most of the allocation will go to 52%, okay, of women. Now some latest schemes also have been introduced in the budget, like Prime Minister Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, okay, or this entrepreneurial scheme. So these have been brought in to promote Drone Didi. Yes, Drone Didi also you can mention. Next, formulation of gig workers is happening, especially they are being registered in the e-Shram portal. This also has been part of the budget measures. And finally, 600 crore gender budget under India AI mission has been allocated. Okay, 600 crores has been allocated for gender budget in India AI mission. So these are some of the measures you can mention. See, one thing, already schemes are there like NRLM, Skill India program, Manrega, where 52% for women and girls has been allocated. This is easy to remember. Now, latest schemes such as, yes, you can mention Drone Didi, or you can say, you can also mention Dhan Dhanya, Krishi Yojana. So anything which you can easily remember. Okay. And then Swanidhi, yes, sir. Formalize gig workers like e-Shram portal and then 600 crores for AI mission. Now coming to 5-step approach in the exam. So I'll give you some this acronym for this. SPAAM. SPAM, SPAM. Okay, just remember SPAM for this. Gender responsive budgeting, 5-step approach. Simply what has to be done is, this is the global approach generally followed in some of the countries. So this has been suggested. So S is basically situation analysis. Situation analysis of what? Of girls, women, and children. Situation analysis means what is the status and all you have to see. Okay, situation analysis of girls, women, and all. That is S. Okay. Next is gender policy framework analysis. So what gender policy framework is there in the country? That analysis is basically policy framework analysis. Okay. Then there is gender budget analysis. Then there is assessing the outcomes, and then there is monitoring of the implementation. So just remember SPAM. It will be easy for you to remember. Okay. So situation analysis, and P is for policy framework analysis, then assessment, then monitoring, and this A is you just remember as budget analysis. So this 5 framework approach should be there, especially for gender responsive budgeting, and this we will draw as a diagram in the exam. Okay, so this you do not have to write, you just draw a diagram saying that we require 5 approach. Okay, so or you can write a pentagon you can draw. So you can draw a pentagon and just show the sides like 5 approaches. So one will be what? So tell me what will be the 5 things, the approach diagram. Span. Okay, so situation analysis of what the status of women, girls, and children. Then you will see gender policy analysis also. Okay, and then there will be assessing outcomes also, and then there will be monitoring of the outcomes, and then this A is basically budget analysis. Now some solutions have been given. In these solutions, you can go through the rest of the solution, but I want to discuss 3 things which you can easily write as examples easily, and you can score more marks in the exam. So what are these 3 examples are? Regular assessments should be there, which is followed by South Africa. Mandate every ministry to report on gender equality outcomes. Mandate every ministry to report, which is followed in Austria. And then there is involving civil society in monitoring and fostering transparency and trust in gender responsive budget. It is Mexico. So involving civil society, just write involving society, example Mexico, right? Mandate every ministry to report on gender equality, example Austria. Regular assessments must be done, example South Africa. That's it. All one line points you can mention. Okay. Rest, I think solutions, one important keyword is disaggregated data. Disaggregated data. This keyword has to be there in the exam. And then there is transformative framework which is required at all levels of policy making. So economic autonomy must be given, leadership also there should be there, and gender mainstream also has to be in this diagram also you can draw in the exam if possible. Okay. So in conclusion, best conclusion what we found is you can just write not only just Sambal, you need Samarthya. Okay, Samarthya is basically economic autonomy. Okay, so this is the best conclusion you can mention in the exam. Okay, and yeah, I'll take 10 more minutes. Okay, just last one question I wanted to discuss. After that, 10 more minutes we'll conclude. Okay. So before that, why introduction? Recently, what happened? In introduction, what will you write? Context introduction. So in budget, how much percentage it has been increased? 37%, or overall, if you see, overall the percentage of total budget, it is 8.8%. Okay. And almost, yes, very important key focus area in the budget 2025. In the four key, one of the key is women. And why gender budget? Already we have seen why gender budget. A lot of problems are there. So what are those problems? Labor Ministry. Already we have seen Labor Ministry has not increased, or MSME Ministry also did not increase the allocations. Okay. And labor force participation gap is there almost 37%. Okay. And stagnant, yes. The allocation is very stagnant. And apart from other things, I told you that implementation and all, okay, those things you can mention. Now, in this approach, what we have seen, informal, yes, informal sector is almost 90% of them work in informal sector. And in approach, you'll remember just spam. So the approach should be followed is, yes, in Manrega also, in Manrega, almost 46%. They are there, but there are 60% like beneficiaries are women. So in spam, I know I think you can easily write what is spam. So S is, you can just short form you can mention. Okay, S is situational analysis, and then P is policy analysis. Very good. A is assessment. Very good. And another A is budget analysis, and M is monitoring. Okay. And regarding diagrams, there are 2-3 diagrams here. Either spam you can draw diagram, or one more diagram I told you. Finally, in the solution you can mention transformative framework. So this framework should have 3 things. One is gender mainstreaming. Okay. What does part A, part B mean is basically in the budget, if you see, when union budget is like presented, in that they basically mention that this part A, part B, and part C allocations. So part A is basically 100% allocation which goes to women. Like there are some schemes where entire amount is entire beneficiaries are women, right? For example, Ma scheme is there. Okay. Mother's absolute affection. Obviously, entire fund will go to women. So this 100% beneficiaries are there. Okay. In that way. So the same thing here, there will be some schemes with 30 to 99% beneficiaries are women. And then there will be less than 30% beneficiaries of women. So in that way, what allocations are there? That is basically part A, part B. Now coming to the conclusion part. What will you write in conclusion? Sambal to Samarthi. Very good. That's it. Or PM Nari Shakti. Yes. Okay. Now, finally, we'll discuss the last question, which is the rapid advancements of artificial intelligence presents both unprecedented opportunities and significant challenges for labor markets, especially basically employment. So this question can come from employment topic. So even economic survey has also clearly discussed what will be the challenges and opportunities. So I will end the class with this discussion. So introduction, again, one line introduction you can write. Simply say that recently OpenAI recently stated in the blog post that by 2025 they will have office ready AI workers. Office ready AI workers. So definitely you can start your answer with this and show that this clearly indicates the challenges to labor markets. Okay. And diagram you can show like what are the recent AI tools which threaten the labor market like Copilot, Gemini, Grok, all like small diagram showing AI tools which threaten the labor market. Okay. So this is the diagram which goes into this question. An introduction you will mention AI workers. Okay, AI workers. So now tell me what are the concerns, how it is going to impact labor market? Structural unemployment, okay. How is it going to impact labor market? Job replacement, very good. Displacement or replacement, yes. Job loss, job displacement, reduced job demand, automation, yes, very good. Automation, especially remember entry level workers are going to affect it a lot. Can you give me example? Entry level jobs, BPO, customer service. Okay, entry level jobs are even as our normal software engineer also entry level jobs. In fact, recently the hiring in the entry level has reduced to 7%. Okay, that stat I have given already. So it clearly shows that entry level jobs will be affected a lot. Okay, yes, call centers and all. Yes, those will be affected. And regarding anything related to women, especially women are working in this entry level jobs and all in especially service sector and all, so they are also going to be impacted. So informal sector, especially if they use not exactly informal, but you can say yes, the kind of entry level jobs and all, there definitely this AI will impact the jobs of women as well. And in fact, you can say in India, women have less resources for skilling. Okay. And if they have no skilling, then definitely they are going to affect more because of AI. So that aspect also you can mention in the exam. So here, basically, ILO estimates that nearly 75 million jobs globally are at complete risk of automation. 75 million jobs. ILO, 75 million. And 300 million full-time jobs are also exposed now. Not only this part-time, okay, full-time jobs are also exposed. And work hours also, 30% of the current work hours is expected to be automated. So automatically what happens if 30% work hours are expected to automated, then per hour basis whoever is working, they'll get very less salaries. Okay, so this also you have to mention. Means work hours also it is going to impact, full-time jobs also is going to impact, and there is complete risk of jobs as well due to automation. Okay, and AI will make skills redundant also. So especially for example, coders are there. Some of the coders skills will be redundant because AI will start coding. Okay, And Indian labor surplus. India is a labor surplus market, so protracted labor displacement or job replacement will happen. Especially the sector, service sector is going to be impacted a lot because IT jobs more susceptible to a threat to entry level jobs, which just now we discussed, like new graduates accounted for just 7% of the hiring in 2024. So displacement of the jobs also will happen because of the A. So the question they'll ask you mostly impact on labor market. So concerns you have to write, and some diagram you can draw in this way, like what concerns, social safety net concern will be there, job displacement will be there, skill mismatch will be there, socio-economic inequalities will be there. Okay, all those things you can mention. And some positives also will be there that I will discuss later. Okay, but first focus on the concerns. Though there are concerns, economic survey says that still it is not at a threat in the near future. This is what economic survey says. Why do you think it is not a threat in the near future? AI may not be a threat in the near future. Why? It creates new jobs, very good. New jobs, new opportunities, very good. New opportunities. Like for example, if I say ATMs, when ATMs came, everyone thought that lot of unemployment will come in banking. But now tell me, banking has more employment now. Okay, when computers have come, when ATMs have come, as such they said that lot of unemployment will be there, but it did not happen. Okay, so in the same way, you can give the same analogy for AI as well. AI is still not able to replace humans. Very good. AI is still not able to replace humans, and lot of R&D is required. Lot of investments are required. Okay, a lot of energy is required. So what economic survey says that it is still experimental. AI is still experimental because as such there is no perfect AI tool still now. Okay, so still a lot of hallucination happens, a lot of supervision is required. Okay, even the data which goes to AI also, there is no perfect data. It's not like a software. Is AI like a software? Like these AI tools, are they like software? Software, you know clearly as what it is going to happen. Okay. But in AI, what is the important factor? Reliability is missing. What is the difference between AI tool and a software? Exactly. In software, can I say there is reliability? You know exactly what is going to happen according to the process. But AI tool, lot of what you can say hallucination and all learning. Yes, it is still learning and all. So that reliability factor still there is a problem. Lot of errors. Yes, data input also is required. Right data has to go. Okay. So lack of reliability. That is what survey says. LLMs are not reliable enough to be successful products. Whereas softwares are basically successful products, but LLMs are not reliable enough to be successful products. And there are a lot of infrastructure challenges also. Okay, and then there are resource challenges. Like a lot of energy is required and cost effectiveness. Again, if you train properly these AI models, lot of cost it will take. It is very expensive. Okay, and globally, all data centers already consume more electricity than many countries. So a lot of resource challenges are also there. So now, what is required? So economic survey has given very good three solutions for this. You can definitely use this in the exam or essay. It will definitely improve your marks. Okay, so three things it said that basically what is required is we require institutions to promote adoption of A. Basically, it says institutions, and in this institutions, it has given three institutions which will make a difference. Okay, one is called enable institution. Okay, enable institution means the skilling, upskilling, education, everything these institutions have to do. Okay, enable institutions. And then there is insurance institutions. Don't you think because of this wide scale AI adoption, lot of job loss or reduce in the salaries and all will happen. So these people require some insurance. Okay. So what economic survey says that there is need for insurance institutions. And then finally, it says there is need for stewardship institutions, especially because AI is AI ethics, okay, or AI accountability should be there. Okay, so that is the reason it says there is need for stewardship institution and insurance institutions and enable institutions. Try to use this in the exam. These are the three keywords you can use. So enable institutions, insuring institutions, and stewarding institutions. Okay. So enabling, tell me why enabling is required. For what? Enabling institutions are required for upskilling. Very good. Upskilling for education purposes, adaptation. Very good. Adaptation. Okay. For all those things. Ensuring institutions like social safety nets, job security or social safety nets. Security, yes. Stewardship institutions, accountability, yes. Accountability in a social acceptability or social implementation. Such kind of words you can use for stewardship. Okay, social acceptability and all. Okay, and promote public balance that public welfare and stifling innovation. So both the things have to be balanced. And then what opportunities? Already, yes, you have given the opportunities and all. You can just go through. So in conclusion, one of the best conclusion you can write is learning from the lessons of the past. Capacity building and institutional building is the need of the hour. Simple. One line in conclusion. Capacity building and institutional building is the need of the hour to adopt A. Okay. So we'll just revise once and then conclude the class. So introduction, what are we going to write in introduction for A and labor work? So what is the open AI statement? AI office ready. Yes, office ready AI workers. Office ready AI workers. So definitely we can say yes, it is going to challenge labor market. Okay. Then in diagram, what are we going to draw? Some AI tools. You just say some AI tools are there like Grok. Okay, so you already know some of the AI tools, right? You just mention them, and definitely these things may like impact the labor market. Then what are the problems? Just give me statistics. ILO 75 million risk, complete risk. Okay, and then 300 million full time jobs are also impacted. Then working hours. Okay, working hours are also, it will take like most of 30% of the work hours will be completed by the AI itself. And entry level jobs also will be impacted. And then there will be labor displacement and all you can mention. Okay. Then in solution, institutions. Yes. One is EIS. Okay. Yes. Enhancing insurance and stewardship. Okay. In conclusion, what is the conclusion keyword? The need of the hour is capacity building and institutional building. That's it. Okay, rest you can go through. I have given few slides on GST and we have given a few slides on informal sector, which are both PYQs. So you can just go through those slides. But these 4 5 questions are very important for coming 2025. Okay, so definitely question will come, and most of them have been like covered from the survey itself. So survey questions are generally asked in the exam. So that's it for today. And yes, students who are interested, you can join. And the students who are waiting for the results, yes, like if you're waiting, it's okay. But yes, you are sure, join the course, and accordingly we'll add you to the group. Okay, and please do not share the slides outside the group. Every year this happens, and like we get to know later that slides have been shared and all. Please do not do that. Okay, lot of you have seen already. This is a lot of effort. Okay, so I hope you will not share the slides. Okay. And for answer writing and all, we'll be giving you 4 questions today. So please complete those 4 questions and post it in the group itself. Okay, and we'll go through them and follow the, yeah. See, if you're joining after the, already we are giving access to videos, right? Okay, so this starting videos anyways everyone will have access. So you just attend the classes. Again, this is basically not a recorded video. It's a live class. So once you join, obviously you will get the link and all in the group. And please write those 4 questions. Do not miss them. Okay, either write today night or tomorrow morning, whenever you have time. Write those 4 questions and share. So and follow the pattern, answer writing pattern which you have showed in the demo class. Yeah, some students I think they did not attend, so I'll just show the pattern as well. Okay, so this is the pattern. Like for example, let us say the question is on this trade protectionism. So simply, what you will write in introduction? So if the question is on this trade, you will just write one line introduction here. Trade protectionism and all US, India, or China tariffs. You will write here. And what is the diagram you will write? Like trade. Global trade protectionism or global trade fragmentation. Okay, so what are the things like tariffs or non-tariff measures? Okay, and carbon tax. In that way, you will write. Then you will write here. Okay, also what will be the impact if they ask you impact? So impact again in the same way. One point, right? Main impact, whatever is there. Second point you will underline. Third point, fourth point, 5 point you will underline. And then if they ask you what can be done, already we have given you a solution. Okay. So economic survey has given 3 solutions, right? So those 3 solutions you can mention here. And then in conclusion, what will you write for trade protectionism? What is the conclusion keywords we have used for this? Make in India for the world, or internal engine, or domestic leverage. Okay, that's it. So this is the exact pattern we want your answers to be in the same way. Okay, there is no change. Important keywords you will just underline. Like for example, competitiveness. Like for example, we will write supply chain diversification. You will underline supply chain. And example you will write like Taiwan. Okay, Taiwan in this way. E.g. Taiwan in this way. So it has to follow the same presentation. So just practice them in those 4 questions. So that's it for today. Thanks everyone for attending, and tomorrow we'll meet in the class. So Bright Sir will be taking the next class.